U.S. President Donald Trump showed up late to an event at the White House, delayed, he said, by fast-moving developments in the Middle East and the ongoing peace talks.
Peace for the Middle East. It's a beautiful phrase, and we hope it's going to come true, but it's very close, and they're doing very well.
As the roundtable event continued on, Secretary of State Marco Rubio unexpectedly entered the room.
Anything we should know about the Middle East?
He took a seat and scribbled a handwritten note and passed it to the president, saying he needed to approve a social media post so he could be the first to announce a deal.
I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
It wouldn't be long until the post became public. I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan, Trump wrote. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line. Peace talks in Egypt appeared to have momentum based on the 20-point plan presented by the U.S. on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly last month. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirming the news himself, saying, "A great day for Israel. I will convene the government tomorrow to ratify the agreement and bring all our precious hostages home." While a statement from Hamas called for all parties to fully implement the agreement's requirements and not allow it to evade or delay the implementation of what has been agreed upon. Word spreading quickly among the families of hostages who filmed this video to be shared by President Trump.
Thank you, President Trump, for your courage. Thank you, the Trump administration, for doing everything you can to bring them home. Let's do it.
If this plan goes ahead, it will be the third ceasefire since this war began 2 years ago.
And Katie, it's very clear President Trump is intent on taking ownership of this.
Yeah, he's considering traveling to the Middle East, and he could leave as early as Saturday, likely visiting Egypt. He's been invited to Israel, and he didn't rule out visiting Gaza.
All right, that is Katie Simpson in Washington. And so now we have Margaret Evans in Jerusalem, just down the highway here from Tel Aviv. Margaret, both sides have now signed off on a ceasefire. In terms of a timeline, what is supposed to happen next?
Well, as Katie just mentioned, the Israeli Prime Minister has got to take this deal to his cabinet. He said he will do that tomorrow. Presumably, they will sign off on it. We don't know the exact timing of the ceasefire, but once that ceasefire, or the clock on the ceasefire starts ticking, a few things are supposed to happen over a 72-hour period. The Israelis in Gaza are expected to withdraw to an agreed line. And then Hamas is expected to release all of the Israeli hostages, again, within 72 hours. And we believe that at the same time, Israel will release Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. And potentially you would see soon after that the aid being allowed into the Gaza Strip. But, you know, there's a lot of anxiety about the next days, next hours, basically. We've been to this point and seen things fall apart before, so people watching very carefully.
And of course, you know, we're talking about the details yet to be determined on what is strictly phase one of the plan. This isn't the end of it.
That's right. Like so often in the Middle East, as you know, Adrienne, you know, a lot of things get pushed down the road to get something over the line. Right now, the priority is to stop the war. But they're talking about this 20-point plan of Donald Trump's. It's extremely vague. There's supposed to be an executive committee of some sort made up of potentially technocrats. How are they going to choose that board? There's supposed to be an international force to keep the peace in Gaza. How will they go through the disarmament process for Hamas if Hamas has in fact agreed to give up all of its arms? And we still don't know those details. You know, Donald Trump's talking about an eternal peace, but there is a whole lot of a lot more steps to go through before we even come close to contemplating the idea of that in this difficult region of the world. Not least, what about the Palestinian state and recognition of it? There's not much mention of that anymore right now in any case.
Hey, Margaret, I just want to ask you one last question. people here, certainly in Israel, they know at this point all the names and faces of the hostages that they're expecting to see come out. These 48 hostages, 20 of whom they believe are still alive. In terms of the Palestinian prisoners, the lists that have been exchanged, there is one name on that list of Marwan Barghouti that they are hoping is released. Can you explain why that's an important name to look for people?
Well, he's one of 250 Palestinian prisoners. To the Palestinians, they are political prisoners. To Israelis, many of them are criminals with blood on their hands. But Marwan Barghouti is called by some of the Palestinians the Palestinian Mandela. He's seen as somebody who is a unifying force. He's been in prison for a long time now, and that's one of the most contentious issues is who are the prisoners, the Palestinian prisoners, to be released for the Israeli side. They do not want to see Palestinian prisoners convicted of attacks against Israelis released. That's one reason why also the cabinet has to sign off on the overall agreement. And this is something that apparently we understand that they have agreed on now. I've heard that Marwan Barghouti's name is on the list, but I'd have to say that every time we go through this, you're hearing that his name is on the list, and we're not going to know until those prison doors open and he emerges off a bus or similar. But it's certainly key to watch. It's very important to the Palestinians. It's very difficult for the Israelis to accept.
All right, thank you. That is Margaret Evans in Jerusalem tonight. As word spreads, people here in Tel Aviv have begun to gather and celebrate news of the ceasefire.
Nobel Prize to Trump! Yes. Nobel Prize to Trump! Yes.
They've gathered in the city's Hostage Square. That's a public plaza that has been a focal point for hostage families and their supporters since the war began 2 years ago. Now, of course, jubilation, newfound hope that loved ones will soon be home. So the world is reacting to the news of the first phase of a peace deal, including Canada's Mark Carney. Kate McKenna in Ottawa for us tonight. So, Kate, can you take us through what you're hearing from the Prime Minister?
Adrienne, the Prime Minister issued a statement on social media. In it, he says, "Congratulations to President Trump for his essential leadership, and thank you to Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey for their tireless work to support the negotiations. I am relieved that the hostages will soon be reunited with their families. After years of intense suffering, peace finally feels attainable. Canada calls on all parties to swiftly implement all agreed terms and to work towards a just and lasting peace." Earlier today, Mark Carney said he'd been in touch with key players. He said Canada's been working closely with Gulf powers in the region and that Canada is ready to support the large-scale delivery of humanitarian aid into and throughout Gaza.
All right, thank you. That is Kate McKenna in Ottawa.